Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today. And today the Houston Astros are playing the final game of a 3-game series against the Seattle Mariners, and we'll try to go out there and get a series win. I don't know. I'm going to say this. Things look good for the Astros in this series to finish off with Hunter Brown on the mound, who's been locked down so far for this Astros rotation in his first 2 starts. And then Luis F. Castillo, not Luis Castillo we saw go 5 innings last night, and pitched pretty well against the Astros. Different Luis Castillo, Luis F. Castillo, who will be making only his 2nd start in his major league career. His last outing, first start of his career, pitched only 3 innings, giving up 6 hits and 3 earned runs in those 3 innings. So with Hunter Brown on the mound and an inexperienced starter on the mound, I would hope this Astros team can finish off this series on the right note. Now, Luis F. Castillo, the interesting thing is this lineup, there's not a lot of experience in this lineup going up against Luis F. Castillo. I mean, you look at the 2 previous pitchers in this series of the other Luis Castillo and Logan Gilbert, the first 2 starters. The Astros are very familiar with those 2 pitchers. The only player to face Luis F. Castillo in this lineup is Isaac Paredes, who's the only guy. He faced him one time, one at bat. Isaac didn't do anything in that one at bat. That was last year because even though he is, this is his first year as a starter, did pitch 3 games last year, but none of them were starts. So, but this lineup does not have experience facing him, which will be the interesting thing to see. But yeah, so I'm going to go over the lineup, and then I'm going to go over what I think happens in this game, or what I think needs to happen in this game. All right, lineup today. Altuve at DH today for the Astros, and so he's going to be at the DH, and Isaac Paredes is going to be at the 2 spot at third base. Left field is Yordan Alvarez. So this is the 3rd game in left field for Yordan, but first time we're seeing Yordan play back-to-back games in left field. He does good offensively when he's in left field, though. His numbers are much better in his career when he's in left field compared to when he's at DH. All right, then at the 4th spot at first base, we see Christian Walker. At the 5 spot and shortstop is Jeremy Pena. At the 6th spot, and the hero from last night, or one of the heroes from last night, Victor Caratini at catcher at the 6th spot. At 7 is Brendan Rodgers at second base, who was huge last night, a part of a double play in the 11th inning for the Astros. Then Jake Myers, who had a really good 2-hit game yesterday, is at the 8th spot in center field. And then here's what's interesting: Cam Smith at right field and at the 9th spot. Usually you've seen Cam Smith at the 8th spot and Jake Myers at the 9th spot, but that switches. Now, we did see Cam Smith have a really nice RBI triple last night, but Jake Myers has been red hot lately. 2 for 5 yesterday. He had 1 hit the first game of the series. Then he had a good finish to the series against Minnesota. The last game hit a double and had 2 or 3 walks, and then the Saturday game had a double. So he's been red hot recently and is on a 4-game hitting streak. So I guess it makes sense Jake Myers moving up in this lineup. So here's the one thing I want to see from this Astros team today. You got to attack offensively. You're facing a pitcher who's not very experienced as a starter. You got to attack early. And so that's one thing I'm going to be looking for this Astros offense. But one thing is try to take him out early, because this is the one thing we know. And this is a little bit different with the Astros. Now, I'm not saying the Astros bullpen isn't tired, or but here's the one thing: Seattle used their bullpen a lot last night, because Castillo only went 5 innings last night, and it was a 12-inning game. They used a lot of their bullpen. So did the Astros, but they had some guys go multiple innings for them. Fromber outpitched. That's one thing. Fromber outpitched Luis Castillo to the point where the Astros, the Mariners had to go to their bullpen before the Astros did. But you had Josh Hader, who went multiple innings. There were guys that went multiple innings for the Astros. Ryan Gusto pitched an inning for the Astros. You're not going to need him today, since he might be a starter for the Astros in the Los Angeles series. But I'm not saying the Astros don't need their bullpen today. But the Mariners might need it more than the Astros, because the Astros got Hunter Brown on the mound. who's pitched 6 innings in both of his starts. Meanwhile, the Mariners got a guy who's only making his second start of his career, and his first start was 3 innings. So, but if you're the offense, you got to attack Luis F. Castillo early, and then, get to their bullpen, because their bullpen is killed right now. Their bullpen pitched 7 innings last night. So that's got to be one thing your offense has to try to do today. And the one thing I want to see from this Astros team today is get their first win or their first lead by more than 3 runs. The Astros have not led or won by 4 or more runs so far this season. Their biggest lead in the New York series is 3 runs. Their biggest lead in the San Francisco series was 0 because the Astros didn't lead at all in that series. Their biggest lead was in the Minnesota series was 3 runs when they beat Minnesota 5-2. And this series, their biggest lead has been 1 run. So I would hope that this Astros team can do that, because look at Josh Hader, his last 2 outings. He has pitched 50 pitches. If you get in a situation where, let's just say in the 9th inning, the Astros are up 1 or 2 runs. You don't have your closer who pitched 22 pitches last night. Ryan Gusto is not available, a guy you could look to pitch in the 9th inning. I would think Brian King, who pitched 31 pitches last night, would not be available in the 9th inning. You definitely don't trust Taylor Scott in the 9th inning. Who do you go in the 9th? Maybe Brian Abreu is someone you go to in the 9th inning if you need him, if it's a close game. But I think the best thing for this, or Steven Okert, I guess. But I guess the best thing for this Astros team, I would say, is to have a comfortable lead to the point where in the 8th and 9th inning, you don't have to worry about using Abreu or not having, or knowing you don't have Josh Hader in the last innings. So I'd like to see the Astros win. Here's the win by big, win by 4 or more runs, or lead by 4 or more runs. Because here's the one thing I looked at last night. The Astros won 89 games last year. It was like 32 or 33 of those wins were won by 4 or more runs. And that doesn't include some of the games that the Astros won or lost where they did lead by 4 or more runs. Because, you're not thinking about the fact that this team hasn't led by 4 runs yet or more. So that's something I'd like to see this team do for the first time today. But we'll see if that can happen. Let me know your thoughts on the Astros game in the comment section, and peace out. Go Stros.